Call every specialist you can find!" The head surgeon shouted, his voice cracking under pressure. Around the bed of a gasping millionaire, 25 doctors moved in chaos, their knowledge colliding, their treatments failing. Monitors screamed, hope vanished, until a young nurse, silent in the corner, leaned closer and whispered, "Wait!" Everyone missed this. In that instant, the tide began to turn. The room was drowning in panic. Machines beeped in uneven rhythm. Nurses rushed with trays of medicine, and 25 of the best doctors stood around a man whose wealth could buy almost anything, except his next breath. The millionaire's face was pale, his lips fading blue, and every attempt to save him fell apart before the eyes of his desperate family. He had lived his life believing there was always a solution if you had enough power, enough money, enough connections. But tonight, none of it mattered. His body was slipping, and even the most experienced surgeons shook their heads, their voices whispering, "It's too late." In the back of the room stood a young nurse. Her scrubs were simple, her shoes worn from long shifts, her badge tucked away as though her name mattered less than her role. She was not part of the 25 called in for their brilliance. She was simply assigned to assist. But her eyes, steady and unblinking, saw what others missed. Her life had never been about recognition. She had grown up in a small town where hospitals were underfunded, where her mother once waited hours for a doctor who never came. That memory burned in her. The sound of her mother's shallow breaths, the helplessness of watching life hang by a thread. She swore that day she would never look away when someone needed help, no matter how small her role seemed. Years of study had not been glamorous. She juggled part-time jobs to pay for textbooks, slept in libraries, and practiced on dummies long after the lights were out. While others chased prestige, she chased purpose. She learned to notice the quiet signs, the details no one else bothered with, the way a patient's eyes flickered, the faintest change in their breathing, the shift of skin color that could reveal more than charts ever could. Now, surrounded by some of the most decorated doctors in the country, she stood silent, watching. She heard their arguments over treatment, saw their frustration, their anger at failure. But her focus never left the man on the bed. His pulse skipped, his chest strained, and there, a tiny swelling hidden near his throat, rising and falling with every labored gasp. It was small, almost invisible. But she knew. Her voice was quiet, almost hesitant, when she finally spoke. "Check his airway," she said. No one turned. The surgeons argued louder. She tried again, firmer this time. "Please, look at his neck." One of the senior doctors glanced at her, irritation clear in his eyes. "We're handling this. Stay in your lane." The nurse did not argue. She simply moved closer, her hand steady as she pointed. The swelling grew with every second, pressing tighter, cutting off what little air remained. At last, one doctor followed her gaze. His face went pale. He shouted for tools. Within seconds, they performed the procedure she had silently urged. The blockage was cleared. Air rushed back into the man's lungs. The flat line that had held the room in terror gave way to rhythm once more. The family gasped, tears flooding their eyes. The doctors, humbled, stood frozen. The head surgeon looked at the young nurse, his voice heavy with realization. "We all missed it, but you didn't." She said nothing, only stepped back into her place at the edge of the room. Quiet dignity carried her, not pride. She had not acted for praise, only because she could not bear to watch someone slip away when she saw the truth so clearly. Later, when the millionaire opened his eyes, his voice was weak but certain. "Money could not save me, but your eyes did." And in that moment, the nurse understood what she had always believed. True power was not in wealth, not in titles, not even in numbers. It was in the silent courage to notice what others overlook. Some victories are not written in applause or awards. They live in the quiet strength of those who refuse to look away when it matters most. Silent heroes walk among us every day, unseen, underestimated, and yet life-saving. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments and tell us where in the world you're watching from. For more stories of courage, resilience, and unseen battles, make sure to subscribe and join us again.